I think I've got this. Hi! Take two. Had a phone call, found Do Not Disturb. So, okay, intro for this video is that I was telling a story to my friend Aggie here, and she then said, you should be recording this story, and these stories, my stories. I'm like, yeah, okay. Et voila, here we are on my back deck, recording a story. First story. What are we calling it? Life
Stories.
Life Stories 101. This one's kind of funny. This is a cool story. I like this.
It's a continuation, so you missed a whole part.
So that's okay. There's lots of parts. it's like a
This
mirror
is one
ball.
part.
It's like a big
One
mirror
part
ball.
that probably should be recorded, maybe.
Okay. Well, you can let me know at the end, and then we can decide whether we post it or not, right? So Aggie's going to play interviewer. So wasn't that the anyway? So
Oh,
no,
it's
it's
the
the cat. Okay. Distraction. So we were talking about how the first time I had cocaine. There's some good cocaine songs with that word.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so the first time I had cocaine. Segue. Excuse the intro to this. I hope to get better at this as I go. So I was working in a cafe in Coburg in Melbourne for a guy that he was such a cool guy. I want to start with that. Like, he was really cool. He was so good to me. He was like an uncle, right? Like, he was just beautiful. And he had a cool family. And, you know, it was a different world. Anyhow, when I was over in New Zealand and I had my son and I came back to Australia, I picked up the paper at the airport in Melbourne, and it's had him on the front page as Australia's most wanted. I was working with this guy, and one night after work, they were all going to the casino, and they said, do you want to come? And he goes, do you want to come, and I went, yeah, all right, why not, I'd never gone, like, they did all the racetracks and all these different things, and they come to this casino, and I go, yeah, okay, let's go, I'll come. So we get into this Mercedes, and we drive out to, like, I think it was like Doncaster or Bulleen in Melbourne. That's a kind of high-end area. We get there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful home. Like, it's, one of those, I don't know, movie homes almost, This is back 24 years ago. Very luxurious. This is well over 24, 25 years ago. Yeah, like an estate in a suburb. Like the confined estate.
A suburb in a suburb.
A confined estate. So anyway, we get there, and I get offered cocaine through this thing.
Was this your first time in such a lush place?
No, but it was, it was...
That comes later, that part of the story.
No, from the toilet cubicle to the towers I've been... Anyhow.
From the bridge
under the bridge
under the bridge downtown to the luxurious buildings of Melbourne.
The penthouse up top. Right, that's basically it.
Inhabited by Australia's most wanted criminals.
This is the world I'm in. This is my life movie. Anyway.
At age 20. The ripe age of 20.
The ripe age of, probably I was 19 then, I think. 18, 19. I think I was a bit younger. So, anyway, so we get to this house, and they're like going to the casino, and I've got nothing to wear, and this guy's got like this whole room upstairs of just these beautiful gowns. Right, so I get this gown, and it's like long and black, and it has a slit up the leg, and it's got pearls around here, like a ring pearl and shoulders, right? So it's all pearled and black. Oh, damn, I never thought of it that way. You just ruined it for me. I've got a really bad image around the pearl. Let's not go there.
You pretty much said a pearl necklace.
Well, it was like it was beautiful. All right. Oh, God, now that you've said that, I'm never going to forget that to go to my stories. Never going to. Anytime I have this memory of anything, I'll pull them.
Sorry.
So I've got this.
It happened.
I got this beautiful gown on, and I have a line of cocaine with a $100 bill on a glass table, just like a movie. And, and I get along with these guys really well. We're laughing, joking anyway. I was the only female, of course. That's been a lot of my scenarios in life, actually. Yeah. And so we go to drive to the casino, and one of the other guys, I got to drive the Mercedes anyway. It's the bottom line. I was so excited. I just remember this bad taste in my mouth. Yeah. And I go, can I drive? I was like, after my first line, hi, can I drive? And he's like, you sure you're going to be all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to drive it.
Woohoo! It's insured, right?
No, I'm
What's
good.
the
I'm a good
problem?
driver. So I got to drive this Mercedes. We go into the Crown Casino, and it's VIP parking, chalet. What do they call that when they take your car?
Yeah, valet.
Valet. I was going to chalet. Valet. I was close. So valet parking, and we get in and we go to what was then called the Mahogany Room. I don't know if it still is. It was the Mahogany Room.
It's always the mahogany room where you spend the most money.
Yeah, it's the high end of the
bidders.
casino. Yeah, right.
It's only high bidders.
Okay, so picture this. You're 18 years old, 18, 19 years old. You walk in to the casino. I'll never forget this, ever.
In a dress that's
in
been
this
cut
gorgeous gown. No, not that one, different gown. So in this gorgeous gown, right, up on my heels, through the middle in the prime, because I had to walk.
pearl necklace.
By my six guys, like 3 on each side,
Bodyguards.
And one of them had shares in one of the nightclubs there, Heat, so we ended up going there, after and stuff. But anyway, we went up to the gambling area, right? And I'll never forget walking through that casino, and everybody was just like, who's that? Like I'm like a superstar.
Felt like Marilyn Monroe, surrounded by men.
I'm like secure. I was flanked by my security, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Marilyn Monroe. That's another one I hadn't thought of. And we went up to the Mahogany Room and we gambled. And one of the guys made a phone call. Like he dropped like a lot of money. I don't even know how much. I don't want to figure to guess at that figure, but a lot of money, and so much so that he called someone in Coburg or up that way to go get cash from under his house and bring it into the Crown so he could keep gambling. Right? Yeah. Anyway, and I would sit there because I wasn't gambling. I would sit there and I'd get $100 to go play the poker machines, or
Go and play.
So yeah.
Go and play. It's just pocket money.
So,
it's like a little child. Get an ice cream.
Get an ice cream, right?
Here's a couple of $100.
He was so cool. He used to pay me in his own cafe. He used to get this. I never forget tuna sandwich, and with lemon and honey, and had lemon and honey, lemon and onion. Jeez. Anyway,
Pepper
this
salt.
sandwich. Yeah, we used to play the Stargate pinball in the cafe. It was really cool. I used to beat him. So
Ding ding ding.
ding ding ding.
My life today.
He would pay for his sandwich in his own
In
cafe
a different way.
with $100 note and go, keep the change.
All right.
Anyway, so I remember just like I'd spend 50 and put 50 in, 50 in, 50 in. And I don't know, I came home pretty cashed up, all in the boob down the side. Actually, I had to come in from the side.
Like you look like a hooker. Just had a good night. It's like mummy pulling out all the money from her bra, knickers, socks. That's if she has any socks.
And
probably not.
Oh, it wasn't Heat that he owned shares in, by the way. I just want a fact correction, Mercury. I feel like that's important. I don't want to be taken as just,
Mercury,
lying. It was
yeah.
Mercury, not Heat. I don't know why that came in. I don't know, but I walked over there because I went to Mercury after we'd done the gambling.
The name of the place.
The bars,
Right,
Mercury.
I thought you took
It's a
Mercury
nightclub.
or something.
It's a nightclub that they
Shouldn't
had.
you be dead?
It's a nightclub.
Wait, is this some new drug I haven't heard of?
No, and I remember going up there and having a dance, and so that was my first time ever taking cocaine. And then I left that world and went to like.
Did you win anything on the pokies?
No, I just kept putting money in my bra. And I'd go get a drink, and all the cocktails were free, so I'd just sit there sipping on like cocktails because they're all free in the Mahogany Room.
So you didn't
And
have
I
to
love
spend any money.
cocktails. No, I didn't have to spend a cent, and I was just try a fluffy duck, thanks. Do you do a flaming Lamborghini?
Well, can you do some tricks?
Show me some shaggy.
While they're fucking spending billions.
It's such another world,
It's
though.
like put the baby in a playroom.
Yeah, even food and stuff. If you wanted to
Yeah.
order up food and things, like that was all catered for. But that's a whole other world. That level of money, man.
yeah.
Like that is.
Yeah.
I had a business mentor, Penny. I'm just gonna stay with Penny, and she was an amazing woman. She was Greek, and her family started in fruit and veg world, and I met her, and she lived in Kooyonkoot Road, which is like the two most expensive streets in Melbourne are Darling Street and Kooyonkoot, yeah. And yeah, okay. And so she lived in there, and they had she had a pool outside, probably about the size of mine, I'd say. And then she had a full tennis court in her backyard. And then she had, they called it the cabana, and it was like a little house, self-contained house at the back with, everything you needed.
Yeah, like a proper barbecue area.
Yeah.
For cooking barbecues and
Yeah.
hanging by the
I don't know. Yeah, no, not
by
yeah.
the tennis court.
Yeah, she had a friend staying there who was like quite high up in Lexus at that time. Beer fridge, I had all that. I had a cool room. No, I had a cool room for drinks. She even had a sauna, like a sauna in there and a beauty room. And then, now get this, she had, when you say my first time in that world, no. She had this little, I hadn't seen them, now everyone knows about them, but they weren't around back then, this was, anyway, she had one of those, she had a downstairs lounge room and the pool was in front of the lounge. It was all glass and they had a TV there. And then they had, the couch was along here, and then they had this little pool inside there that you turn the jets on and you swim to train in water, and they'd sit there and watch talent.
It's like a wave pool.
Yeah, and then you'd walk through into this art exhibit room, and she had this Jaguar, and there was two in the world, and Michael Jackson had the other, and it was really quite something. It was this beautiful statue, and it was just this art sort of room, and had all these things and. Yeah, that was a crazy world, but she was cool. She was I valued her. She was awesome. Room, she did some amazing things. She was like an ambassador for charities abroad from Australia. So she would go to India and things like that. Later on, she started a company that went and did big. That taught people how to decorum in work and in interrelations through Asia, so that they could do business and interrelate into Western society and business. So she would teach them and how to dress and how to hold and sit and that. So she did that for a while. She had a partner doing that. And then she bought the rights. So bought rights to Neighbours for somewhere in Asia, I think Korea or I don't know, and with someone, and then moved to a penthouse in China with her marble floors. And some servants, like some housekeepers.
Is this still on record?
Oh, this is still on record. Okay, that's a little bit of my world. Where do I wrap that up? You're meant to be the interviewer. This is why I had you, to make sure I stayed on track.
I'm trying to live that story, I'm going, wow, yeah, what would that have been like? What shoes did they wear?
I remember having a conversation, actually, that level of money, right? So I remember coming to Penny's house one day, and out the front she had just piles of stuff, right, for the hard ways.
Did you ever talk to her about any of that stuff?
Everything. I've never contained myself. Anyone who knows me knows I speak. So everything. But she taught me some things too. But I remember coming to her house, and the hard waste collection was on, and she had all this stuff out the front. And I pulled up with Diana. I'm like, oh my god, right? Like brand new. I've still got a frying pan from that hard waste thing, right? That I love, right? Like it's serious. And my electric blanket, which you heats one side or the other, you can put it at different temperatures on either side of the bed. That's from the out front of her house. Like that picture down there that I told you was from some famous artist. That was from her house.
Oh, and it's sitting by the pool now.
Never, it made someone smile. It's okay, but
it might be worth something.
No, I don't think in that condition.
But, not anymore.
Yeah, I remember when I came inside the house, I'll never forget this. She said to me that, she's like, can you believe people are out there, Yvonne, going through my trash? And at that moment, because I was doing Uniting People then, right? That's how I met her, doing Uniting People for what I'm standing for now. And I, looked at her, and I said, oh, and she, those, when you someone's going to have a talk with you.
Something's coming.
Yeah, and I'm like, Penny. And I was in her room and I was going through her clothes because she was getting rid of clothes as well. And I sat down on her bed with her and I said, Penny, I go, my car's full. If I could have taken more, I would. It's full to the roof racks I've tied things on, right? Diana and I have loaded this van. I said, and you've been an ambassador for charities abroad and seen the poverty, really firsthand, seen poverty. And your singlets are $100 each. I said, it is, an excess of wealth, right? Why would we need to spend $100 on a singlet? Why are we spending, what you've thrown out there is thousands of dollars that could change people's lives, you know, like it just seemed, I you know, had that conversation. I was like, yeah. And she heard, she got the perception, she heard, and she's a beautiful woman, you know, a lovely woman.
Yeah.
It's hard when you've got that kind of money too, because I introduced
you're under
her.
pressure to sort of look at the part and be the part. And
You end up falling into this, into the world. Yeah, and then you get sort of stuck in that, I guess. But then, you know, like for her, it was quite hard. It was quite sad in a lot of ways because she never knew who was friends with her or liked her or spoke to her for her money or her contacts or her influence or, you know, like that would have been a hard world.
Yeah.
She ended up seeing this guy who lived in the back of Rye, who I used to hang out with. He had a recording studio, but he was in like, what is it, Kids in the Kitchen stuff. And he was in, yeah. He was so upset when he said to me, we used to run together, and he was so upset to me because I met him at like Baha's, the original Baha's in Rye. And we'd go, let's go for a run, you know, and we'd go for his runs, 5K runs. And back when I could strap my boobs and, you know, but go these 5K runs, and he got so upset one day on a run when he's like, don't, you know, I was in Kids at the Kitchen, you know, bragging. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, man. What are you talking about? And I knew he had the recording in the studio, you know. And he's like, oh, you know, Kids in the Kitchen, the famous band in the 80s. I go, man, I probably wasn't even in the country. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is, right? Like, I go, say, feel better, I'm not in the country, I don't know. Yeah. Now I do, obviously. But yeah, and then so he didn't talk to me about work or music for a bit, and we'd just hang out. And I used to get to house sit his house when he'd go overseas. He was a cool dude. But he had insecurities too, you know, like in that he felt intimidated. He told me years later, he apologised. There was an incident between the three of us, and he told a very big lie, which cost me a lot, right? He sabotaged I had Lexus, gave me an apartment in the 5th floor overseeing the lake, and I was doing a short film, If Not Now When, doing a pilot show, and had a film crew, and I had Uniting People, was just, everything was sort of, I was in motion, and he really did, you know, he caused a lot of problems. He said that I knocked on the door and asked for a threesome, and I went, what? What?
Don't you love those stories? When
Yeah.
somebody comes back at you and is like, I heard you did this.
Yeah.
Or you did then. And you're like, what?
So, like, he was really sheepish about it, right? And then years later, about a few years ago now, he moved to Queensland. And we did this course together, landmark course, right? And it was really quite something. And in the third one, it's like the first one's like you're learning the language like primary school, and then the second one's like you're finding your subjects, you know, variety of subjects, and getting to, you know, and then you get to pick university where you get, wow, what's there? And so that was called the Self-Expression Leadership Program. And when we got there, they told us to pick a project that if we didn't take a stand for in our lives, would never change, right? And so people went for like, they just needed to get that married wedding done. Other people got to their business, were splitting, divorce, you know, all personal things in their lives. They took a stand for what wasn't right for them in their life, what it was. And other people, you know, created fundraisers and awarenesses in their community. Amazing things grew out of this, yeah. A lot of things have grown from Landmark. And when I was running through it, I'm going, well, where do I start? Right? Like, this was so hard for me to pick a project. You had 2 weeks to come back and pick your project, and I was like, okay, what about domestic violence? What about homeless kids? What about street kids? I was a street kid, you know,
Yes,
like, let's go there. I know what that world, so let's go there. And I'm like, but why was I a street kid? The system failed me. Our governance isn't designed to look after us, right? Like, that's the problem. And I go, okay, so no matter what you apply the injustices in this world to, like whether it's our animal cruelty or, it doesn't matter what it is, you know. It breaks down to the fact that the governance, our governments or whatever, the leaders in our world are the problem. They're the disease. They're just the symptoms. So we can all keep battling the symptoms, right? That's the reality, right? So we're all, there's so many beautiful, amazing, great people battling the symptoms. Like, there's people asking me for money today for the guide dogs. You know, the cancer, people raising funds for cancer, people doing awareness for this, for that, for this, for this. But they're all kept busy battling the symptom, right? It's not the symptom, it's the disease. So this is what I got in my head back then 20 years ago, you know, right? Like, well, okay, this is my project. How do I fix this broken, corrupted thing, right? Yeah. So that was where Uniting People came from. Everyone's a victim. Doesn't matter if you're black or white. It is you are.
And this is 2023.
And voila, 18 years later, here we are.
Still singing the same song.
You know, like, you know what's quite amazing for me now, though, in this part now in life is like, back then when I came up with Uniting People, that ended up being the branding, because I went, oh my God, are you up for change in your life? Are you up for, up is amazing, utilizable, and it's connecting, uniting people, up. We're going up, right?
The only way's up.
Yeah. So I had designs for example, for a national anthem and a guy working with a sound technician, and he was trying to take a piece from every anthem in the world.
Yeah.
So and apply it into a global anthem, and then like art projects. So this is just in the arts and craft side. Is that like so the Māori tribe back in New Zealand can do an artwork and then have a sea in between, and then put the Aboriginal artwork on the other side. So across the oceans, right?
Yeah.
To unite the tribes, yeah. And then things like I had this big sphere, right? Like imagine this huge big sphere made out of God knows, well, let's say metal or hollow, obviously, so it goes to each country alphabetical order, and each country places their country. They get an artist of their country, the indigenous culture, to do that artwork and place their country. So made up, I don't know, could be woodwork for Australia, it could be Poya shell for New Zealand, it could be glass for Venice, it could be but this sphere goes around the world and stays in different museums. Whilst that's being made, they do the revealing, they keep it for a little bit longer, and then it goes to the next country. Right? Like this is bringing us together. Like all I could think of was, okay, so how do you actually bring people together? What now brings people together? Food. Right. So I go with food. So I think about community events, and I think that we'll do a massive community meeting, and we'll get people to come in and put down their passions and their skill sets and what they actually love and what they're really passionate.
Fun and activities.
Music, so I started designing a concert, right? Then I met the people who did Make Poverty History, and they offered to support, and then I met by chance, Providence, right? This is Providence. Jumped into the taxi, and this guy jumps in the city and says, and it got really busy, right? Like there was just so many meetings, and this guy jumps in, and he goes, oh, where are you going? And I went, Chapel Street, and he goes, can I get a ride? And I'm like, yeah, jump in, and he ended up paying the thing. But this guy had just come back from England from co-creating the concert for Princess Di, right? And in that moment, like I'm not doing justice to what Uniting People truly was. I've got some stuff in the shed and things. I just went, this is what I see, this is my picture. He goes, here's my card. He goes, absolutely call me when you're ready for the next stages, It'd be lovely to work on something like that, right? So anyway, I started designing concerts. Then I started designing a website, which then had to have all these portals and layers or something, and I was like 27, 28 years old.
You were playing with computers?
I don't do computers. I went to 20 odd schools by the age of 13 through 3 countries, right? So the first person I met when I first got this idea and started talking about this to people, because the whole thing that Landmark pushed was enrollment. How do you now enroll others around you to fulfill the change that you feel needs to occur? Okay, let's play, and I started going, and then the first person I met registered Uniting People, the name, once I got the name, to a company. This put such a on what I was doing. And I didn't know that world, that side of registrations and how things are layered and set out. But that stops funding. Like Lord Mayor's office had $100,000 for us. I went and met the image consultant for Oprah Winfrey at the time, who represented L'Oreal for 20 years on the circuit. And it just grew insane. I had offers to link into Bono. It grew, that was all there. What wasn't there was my team, right? Because I couldn't register. People were giving their services for free, business plans, running workshops, but the commitment level of people around, you're talking to someone who I've never handed an assignment in, right? I remember being hounded for an Egyptian assignment in geography in Golden Square, and still not handing that shit in, right?
And history assignment.
Yeah. So now, I don't know how to manage. So it wasn't that the ideas or the enrollment or the people weren't there. It was the infrastructure and the organisation to be able to go, great, that art project's yours, bring me back who you need, what you need, right? Like here's some people, here's, start something, bring it back when it needs, and then next. And I didn't have that infrastructure. And I left before I burnt anyone, right? And I always said, and this is the funniest part now I feel about in my life, really, is that I always said I'll be back in my 40s to uniting people because that's what my purpose is here in life.
And you are.
Et voilà.
And voila.
Et voilà.
And we need to check the volume if this
Oh,
recorded
yeah, I
well.
wonder if I kind of... Thank you for listening if you've managed to listen to that, right? Like, I don't know how that's going to...
Be continued.
To be continued.
Very good.
Peace, love, guys.
Peace and love.